Joining us virtually is ESPN investigative reporter Paula Levine. Paula, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I think this is such an important topic. And yeah, I mean, investigation after investigation and report after report shows, the bottom line is the same. Athletes are above the rules. And this is a combination of factors. And I'll get to the brand aspect of it, but it's, law enforcement and coaches and the fan base all enabling these athletes to get away with this by telling them that they are better, that the rules don't apply to them, and not just telling them, but showing them. It can start with getting a pass on an academic problem or drug testing or getting the cops to look the other way at a bar fight. I mean, all of those things factor into the message that goes to the athlete that we value you, we value your program, we value the money of this program. And, if you get in trouble, we're going to, back to the whole fixer idea, we have someone who can get you out of it. We're going to get you an attorney. We're going to try to divert your case into the university's judicial affairs system instead of the police. And then that way we can keep it out of the media. All of these things are a factor at these universities. And yeah, a lot of it does come back to we need to protect the image and we need to protect the athletes because of the bottom line.
You investigated the situation at Baylor where it got so bad, it got to coaches, players, everywhere.
Yeah, Baylor is a great example. At Baylor, there was an investigation that started back in 2015. And it was, a case involving one football player, and it just exploded into finding that there were, 20 up to 30, depending on the source of the numbers, football players who were reported for having assaulted or, sexually assaulted, physically assaulted a number of female students. And the pattern was the same. I mean, the women were not believed. They were victim blamed. The system just failed to follow up on their reports. And keep in mind that Baylor is the world's largest Baptist university, and there's a very Christian aspect of this in there, and that these women were looked down upon for even having sex, and the idea that there would be non-consensual sex on campus was something that the university didn't want to acknowledge. Again, going back to the brand, and you had and there's a good example at Baylor with one of the athletes. His name was Tevin Elliott. And in 2014, Tevin Elliott gets convicted of having sexually assaulted a female student. And in his trial, it comes up that 3 other women had reported him for sex offenses. Another one had reported him for an attempted assault. And he ends up going to prison he gets a prison sentence for 20 years. And if you trace his case back even further, he was, at a time before all of this stuff came up with the sex assaults, he got in trouble for an academic issue. He was caught plagiarizing. And at the time, there was head coach Art Briles, who intervened specifically on Elliott's behalf after Elliott missed a deadline to appeal his academic probation. And he appeals, and Briles goes and talks to the university president, who at the time is Ken Starr. And yes, I always have to say this, yes, that same Ken Starr, who was the one who led the investigation that led to the impeachment of President Bill Clinton. He's at this time the president of Baylor University. And despite all of the other people in the academic department saying that if you grant this special concession to Tevin Elliott, you're going to send a message that athletes are above the rules, Ken Starr does it anyhow. And in some of the filings after all of this stuff came out with the sex assaults, and after Art Briles was fired and Ken Starr was demoted and leaves the university and other people are sanctioned, the regents are saying, these actions are what enabled these athletes to feel like they could go ahead and do anything. Right. And that there was an overall perception that the football program was above the rules.
Yeah. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.